Hello, my name is Sam Spiva and welcome to Fresh Daily Episode 8, Quarantine Edition. We haven't been to the grocery store in quite some time. We're running out of everything. I'm sure you've been there in the last few months as well. Our garden, while it's doing well, it still isn't producing much yet besides herbs. So I want to show you how to take what most people have around their house and put together an upscale dinner. After scouring around the refrigerator and the pantry, I came up with some eggs, some AP flour, and some russet potatoes. So with these ingredients, I will be putting together a potato gnocchi from scratch. The gnocchi is the main star of the dish that you can make with just a couple of dry ingredients you probably already have on hand, and then you can mix it with any sort of sauce that you'd like. If you have some tomato sauce, even just some butter, some olive oil, fresh herbs, dry herbs, whatever you have on hand during these crazy times will do the trick. I also found a big hunk of Parmesan cheese that I'll be using for the sauce, some butter, and a piece of a lemon, as well as some herbs that I chopped from the garden. Even though my garden hasn't produced much yet in terms of vegetables and fruits, I have a couple of herbs that I'm going to add to this dish that I think is really going to set it off. If you don't have herbs, that's okay. It's still going to be delicious, but since I have them in my garden, I want to add a few to mine. First off, I'm going to snip some of these chives. They're going to add a really nice herbal allium fresh note. And since the oregano is just out here going crazy, I'm going to take some of this and add it to my gnocchi as well. A lot of times gnocchi gets a bad rap, and rightfully so. It can be dense, it can be gummy, it can sit in your stomach like a bowl full of lead. But when it's done the right way, it's incredibly light and airy and fluffy and worthy of being celebrated. Now for the first step, I've got my russet potatoes washed here. I'm going to place them on a sheet tray, drizzle them with some olive oil and some kosher salt, and make sure that they're well coated. And then I'm just going to bake them in the oven until they're cooked through, just as you would a baked potato. Some people will tell you to boil your potatoes for gnocchi, but they'll end up being a lot more moist, which will give your potato gnocchi a much denser and waterlogged texture. So I suggest baking them for a nice, fluffy, light and airy gnocchi. Now our potatoes have been going in the oven for just about an hour on 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and they are done. I like to test them using one of these cake testers, and you just want to test them in the center to make sure that they are tender with no resistance at all. So these are all good to go. The next step is going to be to cut these potatoes in half. As you can see, the interior is soft, and I'm just going to scoop all of the flesh of the potato out of the skins. And you really want to do your best to work with these potatoes while they're still warm or hot, because as they cool down, the potato will become gummy. That'll give you a really dense, gummy gnocchi. That's not ideal. So if you work with it while it's hot and get it mixed while it's still warm, you'll be able to have a nice, soft and fluffy gnocchi, which is the goal here. So work quickly as possible, and don't wait until the potatoes are all the way cooled down before you start working with them. Next, I'm going to take all the flesh from my potatoes here and get them into a ricer. If you don't have a ricer, no worries. Just do your best to mash up the potatoes with a potato masher, a fork, or anything you can use to get these potatoes into nice, fine pieces or puree-like. So I'm just going to go ahead and rice my potatoes now right onto the cutting board. As you can see, the texture is just like a mashed potato, really soft. It gets it into really nice, fine pieces. So after I finish ricing my potatoes, I'll get the egg and flour added. Now I've got all of my potato riced here. So now I'm gonna go ahead and get a little bit of our flour added in. And I've got 3 egg yolks that I'm going to add in now. I've separated the egg whites and the yolks. I'm gonna add some more flour. And now I'm going to mix it all together with this dough scrape here. You want to get it mixed together as quickly as possible, using as little motions as possible, just so you don't make your gnocchi gummy here. as you overwork potatoes, they start to get tough and gummy, so you don't want to do this in a mixer. You want to do it all by hand as quickly as you can. Okay, now our dough has come together in a nice smooth ball. We're going to start rolling them into our gnocchi. So now I'm going to show you how to roll your gnocchi. You start by taking a piece of the dough and rolling it out into a nice cylinder. At this point, you'll take your dough scraper or a knife and cut it into portions. And then you'll take each portion and roll it into a little ball. And then this right here is a gnocchi paddle. If you have one of these, it'll make your life easy. So there's a couple of ways I want to show you how to make gnocchi on a gnocchi paddle. It's always important to get it dusted with a good layer of flour just to prevent the gnocchi from sticking to it. And then you can place your portion of gnocchi here and just use your hand to roll it on these ridges and create a cylindrical gnocchi that has very light indentations and ridges that'll hold a little bit of sauce in it. So another thing you can do is using the dowel with the gnocchi paddle, you can create an indentation in your gnocchi while you're rolling it. Get some nice ridges on one end, and then you create a little divot on the other end that will hold sauce as well. So there's another way to do it. And then finally, if you don't have a gnocchi paddle, fear not, you can use a fork. So one thing you can do is create your little portion here, roll it up into a ball, make your ridges by pressing the fork into the gnocchi, and then if you roll it lengthwise, you have your divot on one end, your ridges on the other, and that'll make a gnocchi as well. That'll be really nice and hold some sauce just by using a fork. Now that our gnocchi has been rolled, I'm going to get it into the refrigerator for a couple of minutes just to set the outside so that I can get it up easily and into a pot of boiling water. While our gnocchi is just lightly firming up in the refrigerator, we're gonna get everything ready for our sauce. So we've got a stick of butter here that we'll place in our saute pan. We'll get that over high heat until the milk solids in the butter start to turn a deep, rich brown color. It's gonna add a lot of nutty flavor and aroma to our final dish. I'm going to get our herbs picked and chopped. So one little trick I wanna show you, here I have a wet paper towel that I'm going to fold over, and I have some fresh chives from the garden, and I'm going to insert the ends of the chives into the paper towel and roll them up. So what this is going to do is it'll keep it really nice and tight here for you to come and chop the chives. A lot of times they'll be flopping around and you won't get a nice thin cut on them. So now I've got our nice garden oregano picked, and I'm just gonna give that a little chop as well. Next, we'll take this lemon and get some nice zest off of it using our microplane here. This will add a lot of lemon and citrus aroma to the dish, as well as some nice fresh flavor. A lot of times if you just use juice, you're gonna get the acidity, which is nice, but you're not always gonna get that nice lemon flavor. So if you add zest to your dishes, you're gonna get a lot more flavor. So take that and then also get the juice, because with the nice richness from the butter, the acidity of this lemon will be a really nice addition. Finally, we're gonna take the microplane and get some freshly ground Parmigiano Reggiano, Parmesan cheese, to top this gnocchi. Check out the description below. I've linked some products that you might be interested in that I'm using today. Okay, so I've got some boiling salted water here in the pot. I add a little bit of salt to season the gnocchi as it cooks, and the gnocchi has been sitting in the fridge for a couple minutes, so it has formed a nice little firm shell on the outside of the gnocchi, enough that I can pick it up and start boiling it so it'll set. When making fresh gnocchi, they only take a couple of minutes boiling in the pot, really only about 2 or 3 minutes. So at this point, I take them out of the pot and I just set them aside. I'm going to be finishing them in the sauce, so for now, I just put them aside into a strainer and let the excess water drain out. Next, I've gotten a pan hot here with a splash of canola oil that I'm going to go ahead and add my gnocchi into to cook. Now we'll add some of this delicious brown butter. Our lemon. Our fresh herbs. And our Parmesan. And toss it together. It's ready to serve. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Fresh Daily, the quarantine edition this time. I hope you found this video valuable. If you did, please subscribe down below or find me on Facebook at Spiva Cooking, Instagram also at Spiva Cooking. I look forward to talking with you more soon.